Hello, and a warm welcome to Season 4 of Unmute Now, a season like never before, where we present Gen Z Voice. This is a youth production of our podcast coming out of our recent mentorship project. We invite you to engage with our young ladies as they join Unmute Now in raising the volume on the whispered conversations in our communities. Our young ladies will share their experiences with you through thought-provoking conversations and, of course, good crack. Come join us right here every Friday at 8 p.m. See you then.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Unmute Now. I hope you've been having a fabulous time listening to and obviously getting a chance to meet our fabulous Gen Z ladies. Today, I'm going to be, quote unquote, the pivot host, and co-hosting with me today would be Gloria. You've met Gloria. Hi, Gloria. Say hi, Suha.
Hi.
We've got Debbie today again.
Hi.
Ashlyn, our baby.
Hi.
And Claire, our seasoned young lady of the crop.
Hi.
Anyway, ladies, I'm so good to be joining you again on another episode. And we're going to be talking today about a topic that we have called red-faced. And I'm assuming that by now, you, our audience member, would realize that this is simply a topic about what is an embarrassing moment. I mean, as a Black person, we're probably unlikely to really go red in the face, but nonetheless, it's red-faced today. So, ladies, I'm just going to ask you very quickly, are you easily embarrassed? I'm going to go with the baby of the group. Ashlyn, are you easily embarrassed?
Yeah.
Cut and dried, nothing, just easily embarrassed. So don't try to embarrass me. Debbie, what about you?
Yes, I think it's a yes and no because I think anything gets me. I think it's the smallest things, the minute things in my mind that make me feel embarrassed. But sometimes I think even the largest things when it comes to like maybe people I don't know, I don't get as embarrassed because as Sue has said in like previous episodes, they'll forget. So
I like that thought. It's all in your mind. The smallest thing in your mind. And probably that is the whole secret to what can actually embarrass someone. I don't know, but that's another conversation. What about you, Suha?
I'm easily embarrassed, but I don't show that. Not now. You can be embarrassed in your room alone.
Oh, you're a good cover up, right, Gloria?
Yeah, but kind of just contradict Debbie. I feel like I'm more embarrassed in front of people I don't know because I'm trying to present myself in a better way. You know, I'm not too sure if how these people view me, so I guess I'm more cautious around new people. So it'd be even more embarrassing in front of people I don't know.
All right, interesting. Before I get to Claire, let me just add because I want to see if this really plays out in terms of age. I know Claire is the older of you lot, as they say here in Belfast. But for me, I think I'm too old to be embarrassed. But when I was much younger, I pretended that I wasn't easily embarrassed. I'm probably like Suha on this one. But Claire, what about you?
Yeah, you've just kind of hit it on the nail right there. I wouldn't say I'm easily embarrassed anymore. And I mean, I'm 22 and I don't know, I just think I've got over that point where I'm trying to impress people and self-conscious about wee things. I just really don't care.
Age. Age is the key. There you go. Right. So, ladies, this conversation generally is about you. It's led by you. So let's see what we're going to dig in about today. What are we going to be talking about, Gloria? You're my co-host. So come on, let's hear from you.
So I guess the next question is what constitutes embarrassment? So I guess what what makes you embarrassed? I guess what are the steps or what are the phases or what around you happens for you to be embarrassed? What about you, Ashlyn?
I mean, anything embarrasses me from walking across the road to walking the pole. It doesn't really matter. I'll be embarrassed about anything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Okay,
it.
cool.
That's it.
What about you, Debbie?
And I think it's the idea that people are critiquing you on the smallest things because after all we're living life first person. So the tiniest things stick out to us and we think that it's such a big deal just because we're living our lives when everyone's in their own bubble thinking that also. So I think that's what makes people embarrassed, at least for me. So I'm trying to think that way as well and think that oh, no one's looking.
What about you, Sue?
As you all said, not really showing that I'm embarrassed, but when I'm embarrassed, I would be from people that I don't know, and especially when my stomach makes sounds. I would be, just don't talk to me, make it like nothing happened. Play it cool, but I can't. That's what really makes me embarrassed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I know, Claire, you said you kind of like gone over the point, but maybe when you were younger, what do you think would have gotten you embarrassed easily?
I just see what you mentioned about your tummy rumbling. I just always remember, I don't know if it's just me, but my tummy always used to rumble when we had exams in the exam hall. So it's so silent and you're sitting there, please don't. But I would say also, I think embarrassment comes from not knowing something. If you're not confident in something, it's easy to get embarrassed. So I remember when I like went to the gym for the first time, I was thinking, okay, I don't know how to use this machine. I don't know how to do this. Everybody else around me, they all know what they're doing. And you think that they're all looking at you. They're going to tell you that you're doing this wrong and you're doing that wrong. So I feel as if embarrassment often comes from from that lack of confidence, where if you don't know something, you think, oh my goodness, people are going to judge me because I don't know something.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a really interesting point to take from. What about you, Iland?
I mean, I thought I'm going to come back to you, Gloria, because I want to hear your opinion as to what constitutes embarrassment. But for me, what I'm hearing from you girls is that there really isn't any black and white definition or description of what constitutes embarrassment. It seems to really depend on the individual. It could be something physical, it could be the environment, it could be all in your mind, as I said before, and it could simply be whether you feel people are going to be criticizing you, not a lack of confidence. So all of what you girls have said are really things that I've experienced as a young person and perhaps even now. So that there isn't any black and white description as to what exactly is embarrassment, other than it's something that makes you feel really perhaps nervous, makes you feel ashamed, or really gives you anxiety. Don't know. Could be anything.
Yeah. I think for me, as I said, whenever I'm in an environment that I don't know the people, I would try put on my best self, wear the best clothes and try to do everything in order. And also, like Claire said, lack of confidence. Because even, for example, I play an instrument, and if I make a mistake now, I don't, I kind of cover it up and I don't really care anymore. Whereas when I was learning, I'd be like, oh no, I made a mistake. But now my mom and I, we just laugh about it, we move on. So yeah. And I guess my second question, or not even a question, but do any of you want to share an embarrassing moment that you've had? Could have been recently, could have been when you were younger. I think that's sort of Claire because she's only laughing a bit.
I think I'm just an embarrassing person because I can think of so many. But the one thing that sticks to mind is when I'm in Nando's. I think I had lunch with a friend, and I was on my way out, and a group of girls were coming into the restaurant. So I saw them, and I thought, oh, they must be from school because they looked like some girls from school, and they were waving, but they were waving at somebody behind me. And of course, me thinking everybody's all there, I waved at them. And yeah, they weren't waving at me. And I just we had to giggle about it. Like, oh, I just thought it was, like someone I knew. And just I had to forget it. But I was so embarrassed in the moment, guys. I was like, wow.
Happens to me all the time. What about Yashlin?
gonna pick one that definitely sticks in my head 24/7. I was walking through town trying to find one of my friends because just disappeared. And I was on my phone because I was texting her and I couldn't find her. And I walked right into a pole in front of a big crowd of people. It wasn't very fun.
Were you more embarrassed or more hurt? Oh, what about you, Debbie?
Well, personally, I think one that really came out to mind when I was thinking about this was, I think I was around like 12, 13 maybe, and it was PE, and we were in the gym. And then one of my friends, she's still my friend till today, and she was sitting beside me and she was like, something smells. She's like, something smells. I think it's you, Debbie. I was so embarrassed because I made it. See, especially when I was growing up, because my mom is always like, when you're going through those stages, you wear your deodorant and everything. I was like, I've messed up. I've messed up. It's a shame. I'm ashamed to the family, So that was such a big point. But, I guess she was trying to be nice, but it still sticks with me till today. That was hard.
Oh goodness! And what about you, Sula?
My story is a bit long, but stick with me. That was one time I was walking my dog. She was like 4 months old, so it wasn't really potty trained. And we were on the coast, the most crowded area in Tartus.
No.
And suddenly the calling of nature hits her in front of thousands of people.
Oh my
and it was my first time walking her, and I wasn't prepared. I didn't have anything to clean up or do anything. And people were like, ew, and I was like, ew. And my mom left me with the dog and she walked away. And I was just like, I didn't know if I just leave her, like, do her own, mind her own business, or just... I stood there and I looked in each people's eyes, and I was really embarrassed.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And I never walked her again.
I was young. What about you,
Gloria, you don't think you're getting off of this one at all. Don't think you're getting out. So let's hear from you, Gloria.
First, oh goodness. Okay, so we used to have like a gathering on New Year's Day with people from church, and I got I got this new top for Christmas. I was like, yes, I love this. These are nice jeans, and I could hear people coming to my house. I was like, okay, because my room is like upstairs, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make a grand entrance. I'm gonna come down the stairs to greet everybody. So people are coming in through the door. I go down the stairs. I trip and fall down like 5 steps and land straight on my face. And everyone was looking at me like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, I'm good. I just want to, but I never forget about it.
Oh my
What about you, Yolanda? I've said my piece now.
I mean, I've had quite a lot of embarrassing moments, quote unquote, but I'm going to pick one that I know stand out in my mind when I was a young girl. To this day, it stands out. I remember in my time, we had boys' school, all boys, and all girls' school pretty much facing each other. So at the sound of the 3 o'clock bell, I don't know if you girls have bells in school now. At the sound of the 3 o'clock bell, everybody would be heading down the town. So I left my classroom and I was racing to the gates, what we would call the gates. And that gate is the gate that is directly facing the boys' school. And I had a boyfriend over there, all that kind of good stuff. So I'm running down, racing toward the gates, and all of a sudden I went flying, spread eagled, skirt over my head, everything in front of the boys' school gate. And I had the kind of friends. That's why I like your friend Debbie, plain old diehard. Tell you the truth. I had the kind of friends who would not stop a beat to wet themselves laughing. They're not the kind of friends that will come and pick you up. Are you okay? No, 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 no. They were wetting themselves laughing. And so that was my embarrassing moment. But I'm going to kind of change the conversation a little bit on the topic of embarrassing moment, because I know as young ladies, as women, there are a number of things that as women we tend to be embarrassed to talk about. We have embarrassing experiences over and over. And one of those things is really the whole idea, well, not idea, the whole fact that we have periods. And I know if you're anything like me, you would have had maybe one or two embarrassing period moments. And I wanted to just kind of throw in the whole concept of the difficulties that women from different cultures go through when they're having period or that time of the month, restrictions that women that are placed on women. And so to keep it light, maybe if any of you want, you can share a period story as an embarrassing moment as well before we talk a wee bit about period poverty and the context behind that and what governments might be doing to kind of alleviate that. So for me, I have a period story from when I was a young girl that to this day stays with me. Now, if you grew up with grandparents, I grew up with my grandmother, and my father was still the head of the household, although he wasn't there 24/7 of every day. So when you were a young girl in my time, period was a big thing. You know, the girls were like, if you don't have it yet, you were almost a baby. You weren't important. So you had to have your period to be rolling with the big girls. So whenever my period came, I would have told my grandmother because I had to get supplies. So I would have told my grandmother, and oh my gosh, the first thing she said to me on that day was, well, you have to tell your father you're a woman now. You have to go and tell your father. And I'm thinking in my mind, oh my God, why does a 16-year-old, 15-year-old, I can't remember how old I was, have to go and have that conversation with her? That it was the most embarrassing thing to do. And I could see my daddy's face when I told him. But that was my embarrassing period story. Anybody want to share? Or you see, we're all embarrassed.
I think personally, I don't think I've had any like harrowing, any horror stories about about periods or anything. But I think the whole time of like coming to terms with, I think as Yolande said that when you've just gotten it and you're telling your parents and everything, I think it was the same in my household that my mom was like, I like both my mom and dad told me about periods. And I genuinely thought something was wrong with me. I was like, I must be dying for both of them to be telling me this. Because I was like, I never heard about this at all. Like my friends at school, nobody had ever told me about this. So going through that, I felt so embarrassed every single time. I felt like I was, even though they said that, oh, all women go through this, I was like, I used to walk around the street, I'd be like, so she might be on her period. She might be on her period. So that whole time was, so I felt so ostracized or like by myself, and it was quite an embarrassing time in general, I think. So, yes.
I think I haven't had an embarrassing story with regards to my period, but I remember just when I started to have my periods, it's just kind of awkward because like I didn't know what to do, and like didn't know if it was a thing that you could talk about so freely. But as I got older, realized that it's actually not that difficult to talk about. It's not thing to be ashamed of. My friends are like, oh yeah, I'm on my period too. Yeah, I'm on my period. So I think yeah, it's easier to talk about and just be free and open about it now for me anyways.
What about your culture, Suha? What's it like?
When in my household, when my first period came, my mom went and said to my dad, we need to let her marry. And I was just like, you can't do it like this. And he was just extremely happy. You're a woman now, you're old, you're big enough. And I was just like, oh my God. But I've never really had an embarrassing moment with my period because I've always been prepared. Like a week ahead, I would prepare myself mentally and everything. But in terms of like providing the products, sanitary products, my dad would buy like a huge box because we are 4 women in the household and no boys and just only him. So he would buy a huge box. So until like 3 months later, he would have to deal with that again. So yeah.
That's actually funny because the real funny story is when you have to perhaps, when you get to my age, if you have to perhaps ask your husband to pick it up in the store, that would be the funny story. It's almost like, oh my God, can you not get someone else to pick this up? It's like, calm down. It's been 20 odd years, but sure. So, I've read recently when you look at the likes of athletes, female athletes in sports. For as an individual, I've never had difficult periods where you go through pain or you worry. And I know some women have that, whether it's emotional or physical. But very recently, I have seen a British athlete. She's calling for more research on how periods might impact athletic performance. And I suppose that's because she had a crown or pull up in the recently concluded Commonwealth Games. I mean, there's a lot more in terms of period to worry about in terms of period poverty for people in different parts of the world who may not even be able to afford the products for their own sanitization in terms of having a period and what that means for them and the impact. And I know there are certain schools running programs. Gloria, you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so recently I know the government have been pouring money into different secondary schools, post-primary schools, for aid with regards to sanitary products. So I know in some schools you'll have bathrooms where you maybe have to put £1 or £2 to get sanitary products. But I know some schools have been opening that up. Some schools have maybe a basket where the sinks are with different sanitary products, or they have, if you have like a hook in the cubicle, you have like a little bag with sanitary products. And I know even of a school were able to provide some students who weren't able to access sanitary products with an Easter package. So during the Easter, they wouldn't have any issues with that. And I think that's really important to make aware that some people struggle to afford sanitary products, even in our country as well. Yeah.
I think in Scotland they introduced like free sanitary products, didn't they? So that's recently they've done that. So it'd be great if they do that all across the UK.
I know they've given it a fancy name, quote unquote, period poverty, but I suppose when I was growing up, or perhaps in my grandmother's time, it was quite natural to not have been able to afford sanitary napkins. And I'm sure they would have been very creative in the ways that they protected themselves. And you notice I'm old school, I'm an old woman, quote unquote. So I'm talking about.
No, you're not. You're very young.
Well, you wouldn't think so with this experience. We're gonna bring it to a close, girls, before we kill off our male audience and be like, oh my God, period. We're gonna bring it to a close. But here I know for sure the reason I keep referring to sanitary napkins is because in my era when I grew up, I wasn't using tampons. And very recently I had a tampon embarrassing moment. I went to a wedding very recently at my old young age, and I had my period and wasn't expecting it. So I went to this group of young girls and asked them, excuse me, do you girls have a sanitary pad? And they looked at me like I was talking alien language. And I went, okay, what do you have? And they went, well, we only use tampons. So the girl gave me a tampon and I went to the bathroom and had to try and figure out how to use it. So I had to go back out and call the girl to come and show me. She's like, it was actually good crack. I'm not even lying. She literally demonstrated and then she gave me another one. It was like, that's right. I love you, sweetheart. Thank you. So, ladies, Ashlyn, any final thoughts? How has it been going so far with Gen Z, everything? How has it been going, Ashlyn?
It's been good. It's obviously there have been some very funny moments and serious moments, but overall it's been very interesting to hear everyone else's opinions on different topics and situations.
And it's good to get a taste of even topics that we're not so comfortable talking about. And that's why we're the podcast that raises the volume and the whispered conversations in our communities. So, ladies, it's been fantastic chatting with you again. I know that we're coming down to the end of the season. I think we're probably episode 5 or 6. There's a couple more to go, and then we're going to have our grand finale. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that our audience would stick with us. And then we don't know what will be the next chapter for you ladies and UKPivot, but we're looking forward to perhaps the future. So this evening, it's a wrap from all of us at UKPivot/unmute now. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to our audience from all of us. Say, come on, ladies, join me and say
Bye.